Good afternoon, guys. I wanted to get on here and really quickly talk about this pervasive myth that, how men have this male privilege that we often talk about, but we're not quite sure what it means. Like, a lot of people say men have this sort of privilege that they don't have to worry about. And, for example, like they can walk around at night without having to feel like, somebody is gonna beat them up or threaten them or anything like that, whereas a woman doesn't. Men don't have to worry about like people judging them for their looks, whereas women have to constantly, maintain their looks up to society standards, and so. But anyways, besides that, like, how much merit does that have? Are we living, in other words, are we living in a patriarchal society? And not patriarchal as in like male dominated, but as in um, a system that is designed to oppress women. And the answer to that is obviously no. So we don't live in such a society that is designed to systematically oppress and keep women down and disadvantage them in their social, economic, educational, professional life, romantic lives, whatever it is. All of that is actually nonsense. Um, so then why are there so many women getting oppressed? Is it is it isn't that proof that this is a male dominated society? No, it's not. Well, how could you say that? Well, here's why I say that. Because oppression happens in many forms. It happens to many people. It happens to literally any category that you can think of. Why stop at gender? Why not talk about race? Why not talk about religion? Why not talk about sexual orientation? Why not talk about socioeconomic status? Why not talk about hair color, eye color, height, weight? Um, Whatever you can think of, there is always going to be some sort of oppression towards a specific group of people. It does not mean that society is in cahoots and they are trying to keep that person down because of the group that they belong to. That's a fallacious argument. Just because there are certain individuals who are facing problems, it does not automatically mean that therefore it is a societal issue. It could be. I'm not saying that it's not, but it doesn't mean that that's the only plausible explanation for why a certain group is doing badly and another group is not. And so I'm going to stay away from the race and the other topics. I will focus on gender in this video because that's why I'm here. So, all right. Um, let's look at it this way. Um, in what ways are males privileged, right? Besides the fact that, most politicians are male, right? Which is true. Most CEOs are male, which is true. Most wealthy people in America, I'm going to stay away from the international scene for now. I'm just going to focus on the United States only. That's it. So, please don't say, well, what about the rest of the world? I don't care right now. All right, I'm talking about the United States. Most people who work in positions of power are men, but the same thing is true of the opposite end of the extreme. Most poor people are men, most homeless people are men, most people in jail are men, most people who die because of homicide are men, most people who are, you know, working in those dangerous jobs like the oil rigs, construction, plumbing, those very dirty kind of like, and I don't mean dirty in like a bad way. I mean like, there's a lot of physical labor involved in it. It's very strenuous. It's very difficult to manage and to work in. Um, you know, there's been men, right? Most people in the military are men. Most people who die in the military are men. Um, and so on and so forth. Most drug addicts are men. Most alcoholics are men. And so that's not a sign of privilege. It's not. And there's actually far more of those people than there are people who are CEOs and who are in top positions that are men. So to me, that doesn't seem to be that runs counter to the whole narrative that men are privileged solely based on their gender. And that isn't to say that there is no such thing as, male privilege. To a certain extent, there is. Like there are things that, as a male, not just due to your biology, but even because of social circumstances that favor men more than women. But it's the same with women, though. There are certain situations where women get more privilege than men simply because of their gender. Uh, Here's one example: dating, right? Um, Dating apps, for example. There are far more um, men on dating apps than there are women, and women get far more matches on dating apps, and far more prospects, dating prospects, marriage prospects, all kinds of prospects from all kinds of guys, like especially in today's social media saturated world. Women today, especially if you're a younger woman, like maybe around the ages of 18 to 24, you have a plethora of options. Whereas men, it's kind of stable. Like it's kind of the same with men as well. A lot more men who are younger because, like mostly in their young adult years, that's when they're physically the most attractive, and so they get more matches as well. But as for men, it's the same actually. It doesn't quite change as much when it comes to the opportunities for dating, for success, for marriage, for courtship. If anything, when men get older, they are, which is natural obviously, they become less physically attractive. But they do more often than not accumulate more social status, such as like higher education, more income. But society is not designed to bring a woman in her 20s to a guy in his 30s. That's not how it works. So a lot of people, maybe they reason something like that. Well, it's not how it works. When you're in your 30s, I'm 33 right now. And I don't use that as a complaint. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to explain what's happening, in my life. It's an observation. So, I've noticed my dating prospects have actually decreased as I've gotten older, even though I'm more educated, more intelligent, make more money, things like that. But I don't really, I think that I've noticed more, I was getting more attention and more prospects when I was like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Like 25 is when it kind of started tapering off and I started getting less attention. But I see it as just, that's kind of normal, because I'm not as physically I'm not as physically attractive as I used to be when I was younger. It doesn't mean that I don't think I'm physically attractive. What I'm trying to say is that it's, you know, things change when you get older. Anyways, that was kind of a segue. But that is just to kind of prove that women do have their own privileges, especially in the dating market. Now, a lot of women might say, well, like, I don't like when men harass me. I don't like, and that's valid. I don't think anybody should be harassed for any reason whatsoever, because harassment, by definition, is not a good thing. Nobody ever says, gee, I just want to be harassed. I wish somebody would just nag me and harass me and bother me and make me feel uncomfortable. Nobody in their right mind, at least a sane and rational person, doesn't think that. So excluding the possibility that you're a toxic individual, which you will attract those people to your life if you are that person, nobody thinks those things. Nobody wants to be abused or, harassed in any way, shape, or form. So, but it does show that women have their own privileges. Certain statistics have even shown that women from the ages of 18 to 30 make more money than guys in the same age doing the same job. And so, how we talk a lot about the wage gap. And by the way, the whole 78 cents to a dollar, that's from the 70s, right? And it also doesn't take into account the multiple different factors that are besides gender, like choice, you know, that the genders make, the differences in biology, the differences in psychology between men and women. And these are not news, guys. You know, men and women are not the same in the sense that we are 100% the same. We're also not 100% different either. So we're not like completely different, but we're not also completely the same either. There are certain differences that stick out that that can cause friction and misunderstanding. And so a lot of these things are actually based on choice. You know, the reason why you see more men in the engineering field and more women in the, you know, let's just say kindergarten teaching field, it's because primarily it's because of choice. So it's not because there's this sort of systematic oppression that's going on that nobody has ever discovered yet, that is secretly keeping women down. That doesn't exist, because if that was true, then why would anybody want to hire men, right? Every company would try to hire women because companies are trying to increase their profit as much as possible, and they try to do that without necessarily exploiting others. So it doesn't make economic sense to hire men if women get paid less for doing the same job. That's why when corporations have an opportunity to go abroad, right? Whether it's to India or to China or to Mexico, to, you know, like have their factories there, they always do it because the people in those countries are willing to do the same job for longer hours for less pay. And so many of those companies think, well, why not just go to those countries, right? Because I'm going to ultimately save money, right? I'm going to gain profit and save money. I don't have to pay these people as much, you know. I don't have to deal with the American way of doing things. And so that was kind of the basic gist of it. I'll do more videos on this topic and explain how the whole ideology of male privilege is largely a myth, unless you're willing to say that there is such a thing as female privilege. And so, of course, there would be such a thing as male privilege. But there's nothing wrong, there's nothing special about that. There's privilege for literally anything. You know, in America, though, in a capitalist system, you get socioeconomic privilege. It doesn't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter what gender you are, it doesn't matter what religion you are. If you have money, if you have capital, you get more privileges, right? It's as simple as that. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to get on here really quickly and talk about that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.